The 2009 Audi S5. I guess you can say the last manual V8 German sports coupe thing. It's been a cool car. I mean, I bought it back in July. We did the whole video on it, and it's been fun. I mean, the car genuinely is pretty fun to kind of drive around. It has an exhaust, so it's pretty nice to listen to, but it's not perfect. Now, in today's video, I want to talk about the top 5 things that I hate about this car. Now, I must preface this is not my car. Well, technically it is, but not. It doesn't matter, but it's not. I don't drive this car every day. It's not a thing. I drive the one over there, the CL. And we've already done a top 5 things I hate about that car. But let's talk about my top 5 gripes with this one here. And also, it is very dirty, but we're about to go clean it after this. We just had to film this because you can see it's getting dark outside. So let's just get started. Let's hop in with number 1. Okay, now the first thing on my list is gonna be this. You're thinking to yourself, you hate a 4.2 liter V8? No, not the engine itself. It sounds pretty good, and overall, it's pretty reliable. But my biggest gripe with this thing is there's just no room to work on it. I mean, it sucks. Like, it literally sucks. This is horrible. I don't know what genius in Germany decided this, but there's literally no room to work on this car. Like, if you want to do your serpentine belt, all of this has to come off. And I'm not literally being dramatic. This is serious. Like, everything you see here has to come off. The whole front end comes off. Now, to Audi's credit, they made it easy. I mean, the whole front end comes off as one clip, so at least you're not sitting here taking off the bumper, the headlights, and everything. All of it comes off as one piece. That's good. But the fact of the matter is, why do I have to take off all of it together? I mean, that's annoying. Give me some room to work on the car. There is none. I mean, there quite literally is no room. And it's annoying. I don't know why they designed this. I mean, I can guess, it is meant to be a good 50, or I want to say 50-50, but it's meant to be a good weight distribution, and it does sit over the front axle, and it is all-wheel drive, so, you got the transfer case and all that kind of stuff. But it's just annoying, because anything, a small thing like changing your serpentine belt, or maybe changing, I don't know, in this case, like this car, when we bought it, the fans were bad. In order to do that, you can't take the fans out with the car just sitting here. It is a pain in the rear. And anybody that's going to be here will be like, oh, it's actually pretty easy. No, it's not. You know it's not. To do anything here, you got to take the whole thing off properly. In the service manual, it says take off front end. That's literally how it starts. Take off front end. The engine, great though. I like the engine. It sounds pretty good. But actually, that's going to preface me into the second thing on this list. We might as well stay here while we're already looking at it. Now, the second thing on this list has got to be the power numbers of this engine. It's just not enough, if I'm being honest. I mean, it's a V8 sports coupe, and it's only got 350 horsepower. 351, if you want to be technical. It would have been nice if they made it 400, like boost it up a little bit. Now, it's possible because this is the same engine as the Audi R8 or the Audi RS4. And yes, it is that motor. This is not the one that's in the B6 or B7 S4. This one's literally, it's not the exact motor, but it's derived from the R8 motor, the 4.2. And they definitely could have eked out a little bit more power out of this thing. I mean, 400 would have been nice, 405. Why not? It's possible. There's other naturally aspirated cars out there that do it. So why couldn't you do that? I mean, my CL has 520. Sure, that's a 6.2 liter. So it's literally 2 liters bigger than this. But still, it's possible. I think they should have upped it a little bit more. Now, to its credit, it is a very linear power band. You have power pretty much the whole time. But I would like it, to be a little bit quicker. And you can make that. I mean, aftermarket tunability, intake, exhaust, and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, why not from the factory, right? Give it a little bit more oomph, give it a little bit more power. It does have the torque. It's pretty nice low-end torque. But it just could have been a little bit faster, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Now, let's move on to the third thing. Now, the third thing on this list is actually nothing to do with this wheel, but the suspension itself. I don't like how harsh the ride of this car is. Now, you guys in the comments are going to say, well, it's a sports coupe. It's meant to be kind of harsh. Sure, I mean, I guess you can say that. But my biggest gripe with it is it could have been softer. I mean, it's really stiff. Now, this car is lowered just a little bit, but that doesn't really matter. It's still got stock suspension and everything on the car. But it's just too stiff. I mean, you go over some bumps, you go over like I don't know, potholes or something in the road, and you're just running, the whole car just shudders, and it's just not comfortable. I mean, unlike the CL, now it's not fair to compare it to the CL, because with the CL, we have a, you know, ABC suspension. It's fluid driven. It rides. It's also a much bigger car. But comparing it to, like, let's say something like my Boxster, where I honestly think my Boxster had a better ride than this car did. Just weird to say. To be fair, my Boxster also had a lot of the suspension replaced before I had the car. So maybe that's why maybe this is just worn out. In fact, it is kind of worn out when you take turns and when you try to do, like, you know, like a, I guess you can say a U-turn or something, it makes noise. I think the control arms need to be replaced. But aside from that, maybe the shocks have to be refreshed, maybe some of the springs. It's just, it needs a little bit of a better ride, is what I'm trying to say. You know, it is a sports car at the end of the day, but it's a sports coupe. It's not a luxury car or a big luxury coupe like the CL is, but it's also not a two-door Porsche Boxster style sports coupe. This is still meant to be a sort of quote-unquote GT car, and the ride's a little bit more stiff than I would like it to be. A little bit softer would have been nice, or maybe give us active dampening on the car, because you guys got to remember, back in 2009, this was the big boy A5, S5 thing. The RS5 didn't exist until like 2011, so they could have given it a little bit more options, or given the option of maybe selecting like active, you know, active dampening or something along those lines. But let's move on to the fourth thing. Now for the fourth thing on this list, and you guys can see I'm wearing a VAG hat. It's Porsche, but it's Volkswagen. Cross, very important. But it's just the interior space. I feel really crammed in this car. You know, I am a bigger guy. I'm on the bigger end of the scale. So maybe for smaller than me, you'll be fine. But it just feels a little bit too crammed in here. Again, this is it's not as bad as my Boxster was. My Boxster was just not it. That's why I sold the car. But it's also a little bit more crammed. I mean, it's a GT car. Even sitting in the back, there's really no room for anybody in the back when you want to be comfortable as the driver. Now, I'm not saying you should sit all the way back and lean back, you know, Eastern European Balkan style. But what I am trying to say is they could have given us a little bit more room. And this isn't just the S5. This is the A5 RS5. This platform in general, the B8 A5 platform is just, it's a little too crammed. You know, the newer ones have more space in them. You can also get the A5, I don't know what they call it, the coupe, the hatch thing, not the four-door A5, which I never understood that. Like BMW, even Mercedes and Audi, what is the point of taking your two-door platform cars and giving them four doors? I thought the whole point was supposed to be there with two doors. I don't know, whatever. But it's just naturally just kind of really dense in here, and it's kind of hard to, I mean, I don't know, if you're strictly just driving, it's fine, it's not the worst. But I mean, if you're kind of tired and you want to just kind of lounge back a little bit, you know, there's not too much space. It feels a little bit more crammed. Now, maybe this is just something I'm nitpicking, because to be fair, I am coming from the CL, where in the CL I feel like I'm just sitting on my lazy boy at home, because it literally is that, massaging seats and other things like that. This car doesn't have that, obviously, but this car was also 150 grand cheaper than that was back in its day. But yeah, it is overall, it's not a bad interior. It's a nice interior. I would say this is one of the nicer interiors when it comes to from this era of German cars. You know, there are plastics, sure, but it's designed very nice. It's very driver focused. I just wish that it was a little bit more spacey, I guess what I'm trying to say. A little bit more room in here, because if you're a bigger guy kind of like me, you're kind of just sitting there and you're a little bit, I guess, wishing for a little bit more space. But yeah, let's move on to the last thing. Now we're going to stick here for the last thing, and it has to do with this. This is a 6-speed manual transmission, which when you bought this car back new in 2009, you could have selected between two things. Either this 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, I would have gone with a manual, that's why we bought this specific car. My biggest gripe with this thing is that it's just, the shifts, like the throws are just so long. I mean, look at that. You know what I mean? Now, I think the reason why is because this is the same transmission that's in like an A4 with the 2-liter turbo, the A5 with the 3.2 V6. It's the same transmission. They did nothing to change that. It's the same thing. Now, is that any fault of this transmission? Not necessarily. It's just the fault of Audi, because in a sports car, you know, you'd expect short throws. You're going through the gears, you're climbing, you're rolling through gears. But the gear, they're just so far apart. Now, they're, of course, through the aftermarket, you can fix this. They do sell short throw shifters, which we will be buying for this car, because this one also, the shifter itself has deteriorated inside here. So when you're in gear, it lets you play around, which is obviously not normal. You don't want that. But yeah, I just got to take this off, probably order the kit and just fix it. But that's my biggest, or not my biggest, that's my last gripe with this car, is just the shifts are so long. Sometimes when you're driving, you know, spiritedly, and you're going from second and you're in third, you know, you want to do that quick shift so the RPMs don't drop too fast, and you're just over here, just feels like I'm rowing a boat. I mean, obviously not, I'm being dramatic, but it could be much less, and it will be once I buy the short throw shifter and we fix this thing. But for originally, just stock for stock, if you're buying one of these, just be aware that if you're planning on driving it very spiritedly, you're going to have an issue because the throws are kind of long. But yeah, that's kind of it with the car. Let's go ahead and hop outside. Now that is my 5 things I highly dislike or hate about the 2009 Audi S5. Again, I might have been nitpicking some of them, like the shifter and everything, but these are things that I've noticed after owning the car for about 3 months. Not daily driving it, but driving it often. But let me know down below, what do you guys think? Am I just being too picky? Am I being too dramatic? Or are these legitimate things that you guys have also ran to? If you've owned one of these, or if you own one, or if you want to buy one, let me know down below. And thank you all so much for watching the video. I will look for you guys in the next video. If you guys have any questions or anything, please leave your comments down below. I'll interact. I'd love to interact with you guys. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.